To develop the next segment of my musical composition, I decided to begin with an experiment, transforming Conway's Game of Life into music.
The Game of Life is a cellular automaton, a system created by mathematician John Conway in 1970. Here's how it works. Imagine a grid, like a chessboard. Each cell can be either alive or dead. At each turn, every cell changes its state according to very simple rules. If it's adjacent to 2 or 3 live cells, it survives. If it has more or fewer, it dies. And a dead cell can come back to life, but only if it has exactly 3 live neighbors. That's all. And yet, from these few rules, something surprising emerges. Patterns that stabilize, move, oscillate, transform. It's a game, but in the end, it speaks of how order can arise from chaos, and perhaps too of the fragility of life. I asked myself, what if, instead of cells, there were musical notes? So I started with a minimal form, 2 adjacent notes, C and D, which could be either active or inactive, and each one could be next to just one active note, or none at all. Then I built a small program using what I call collective intelligence. At that stage, I wasn't concerned with sound quality. I used raw, primitive tones. My only goal was to understand what was happening. But every configuration after a few cycles would either fade out or fall into a fixed rhythm, unchanging, repeating itself endlessly.
So I tried expanding the system to 12 notes.
Each note could now be adjacent to 2 active notes, a slightly richer, more complex universe. And yet, even here, after a short while, every evolution came to a halt. The notes fell into a cycle, a perpetual reincarnation but without variation.
A true musical samsara. So I tried to set the notes free to help them escape the mechanism.
I placed them on 2 parallel planes, one for the white keys and one for the black. In this new space, each note could have up to 4 active neighbors. And in keeping with my musical symbolism, 2 notes were excluded, F and B, because to me they are neither white nor black. But the further I went, the more I felt I was heading in the wrong direction. I had been misled by the name The Game of Life. Because on closer look, this life isn't real life at all. It lacks 2 essential things, destiny and freedom. Even animals cannot escape their destiny, and it is unknowable, mysterious. And human beings seem to have something more, a will, the desire to choose, to alter the course of their own fate. In Conway's Game of Life, none of this exists. The notes are born, die, and change. But they do so blindly, mechanically, not for a purpose, not for a meaning, only because that's what the algorithm dictates. So what kind of life is this? It's a machine that imitates life, but holds none of its essence.
I had created a mathematical world from which to extract music, instead of using mathematics to transform my vision of the world into music.
Out of curiosity, I pushed further still and translated Conway's game directly onto a complete musical grid. The result? I'd call it the Game of Clouds. Wonderful chaotic shapes, in constant motion, shifting under the influence of too many variables and parameters to grasp. Impossible to predict, impossible to repeat. And yet again, everything happened without will, without meaning.
What I was looking for was human life, not a mechanism and not an imitation. And that's where I started again, and it's what I will talk about in the next video.
If you'd like to listen to the first 2 parts of my composition, you can find them on my YouTube channel or in the Spotify playlist.